While President Joe Biden may not end up on Ohio's ballot, a New York-based campaign official for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the point of a third-party candidate like Kennedy is to help Donald Trump defeat Joe Biden. Listen to what Rita Palma, who has identified herself as the Kennedy campaign state director in New York, had to say.
So right now, the way that I see it, and things I guess will change over time because you do have to only pick one candidate at the end of the day, but the Kennedy voter and the Trump voter, the enemy, our mutual enemy is Biden. Whether you support Bobby or Trump, we all oppose Biden. 270 wins the election. If you don't get to 270, if nobody gets to 270, then Congress picks the president. Right now, we have a majority of Republicans in Congress. So who are they going to pick? Who are they going to pick? If it's a Republican Congress, they'll pick Trump. So we're rid of Biden either way. People kept continually telling me, wow, that's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. So, I'm kind of mulling it around. What should I do with this? What should I do with this? And then I got a call from the campaign. And, they were going to hire me as their New York State director. And I said, okay, I want to take the job, but I'm going to tell you right now that this is part of my messaging. And if I'm allowed to preach that, if I'm allowed to, get that message out there, then yeah, I will definitely work for the campaign, but I don't want to be restricted in what I say because I think this is a really winning strategy. And my boss said, well, okay.
In a statement to CNN, Kennedy campaign spokesperson Stefanie Spear downplayed Palma's role and said her comments do not reflect the campaign's strategy. Dr. Malvo, it seems like every week with this campaign, there's a new statement that comes out. They're backtracking on things that their own people said, and it just seems like every single day they're not ready for prime time, but they can still be very dangerous.
Well, they are very dangerous and they're not ready for prime time. They're hilarious, frankly, with some of the things that come out of their mouth. But our Junior was hilarious when he had a CNN interview with, I believe, was Caitlin Collins, one of them. And, he's very unfocused. He doesn't know why he's in the race. He doesn't have positions, but he's anti-vax. I think he hurts both Biden and Trump. But I think that the damage may be more to Biden than to Trump. But I'm not sure because you know what? He sounds like Trump. He actually really sounds like Trump. And so the Republicans who do not like Trump's extremism, idiocy, gaffes, 91 indictments, they might choose Kennedy as a more reasonable alternative, which then, of course, would help Biden. It's early on. It's very early on in terms of how many states has he qualified for? Does he have operations in every state? Are we going to need to get the Kennedy family out of the stump to say, that boy a fool? He was a fool when he was born. He was dropped on his head.
They've been out there. They've been out there supporting Biden and condemning their family member.
But I need them to say he crazy. I don't need them to say they support Biden. I'll just say, look, back in the day, he ate some crayons or something, and it affected his brain. And I saw him eat the crayons, so I'm going to say that he ate well. I mean, we need one of them to say, this boy ate well. He had more money than sense. The family, we may need to deputize the family, but this whole thing is cray-cray. But as I said earlier, he sounds more like Trump than like Biden. So my hope is that if he does stay on many ballots, that he splits up the Trump vote as opposed to hurting President Biden.
And Dr. Walker, one of the concerns that I'm having with this and what Dr. Malvo is saying, it's just so spot on, is that I'm thinking back to Trump 2016 and how people didn't take him seriously, a little bit of a joke, Hillary got this, and people kind of step back. I feel like as he's getting more and more attention, people are kind of looking at the campaign as being disheveled and disarray and the like, but there are people who do support him. And then when you add in other potential third-party candidates, he can do enough to affect Biden's chances. And my concern is that people are just looking at these particular situations as one-offs, and even though like every week there's a one-off, right? And they're not taking it seriously in terms of whatever state he can get on. I mean, I opened up this segment by talking about how Biden may not be on the ballot in Ohio with the Republican shenanigans that are going on. So even though we think this man is not serious, he can still be very dangerous for the campaign of Joe Biden, right?
Yeah, I think anytime rich white men from backgrounds, with family backgrounds like, Kennedy and Trump, I think they share a lot of commonalities, but like I said, coming from, film backgrounds, obviously the Kennedy name is obviously a lot different. But also, I think that, overall, in my opinion, I think Kennedy hurts Trump. And I think even there was a few weeks ago, there was a poll that showed that. Listen, their policies, they're both would attract individuals who are conspiracy theorists. So, like Dr. Malveaux said, talking about being anti-vax. I mean, think about all the really crazy conspiracy theories that Trump supporters believe in. Obviously, that the election was stolen, that there's some kind of that the Biden DOJ is after Donald Trump. I could just go on and on and on. There are new conspiracy theories on a weekly basis. So like I said, I think Kennedy hurts Trump more than he hurts Biden. But I think also this highlights, when we're having this conversation about these two particular white males, it shows how whiteness works in America. Because in any competent democracy, neither one of them, A, one individual would have never won the presidency, and B, be a candidate. And then secondly, Kennedy, he's barely holding on to the Kennedy name. As we highlighted, we've seen the news over the last several months. He's had family members that have come out and very clearly say that they don't support him. He should not be president of the United States. But as Dr. Malveaux said, sometimes we need to go a little further and just say he's crazy because he has been an anti-vaxxer for years. And you would think, considering how many lives we lost during the COVID-19 pandemic and continue to lose, that he would change his position, but he hasn't. So now he's not just an anti-vaxxer. He's really, anti-health care and really anti, in terms of, mortality, lower mortality rates. So he's dangerous for a number of those reasons. And once again, he's basically just surfing on his last name.
No, absolutely. And Dr. Ali, one of the parts that the woman said, Palma said, that was kind of scary was that part of basically, hey, if we break this stuff down, it gets kicked back to Congress, they select Trump. So it's almost as if they have a game plan, Dr. Ali. And it seems like, again, this is a situation where we have Republicans or people who might be supporting, an RFK, Jr., playing chess while many of us are playing checkers, because at the end of the day, she made it clear it's not about getting enough votes to send him to the office. It's about being able to cause just enough dissension that Trump will end up being the president one way or the other if it gets sent to Congress to have to decide for the United States.
Yeah, and Dr. Malveaux and Dr. Walker, they broke it down and they explained all these critical elements that are so important. So we often on this network talk about helping people to understand the game. This is a game. There is a strategy that is in place to find avenues and ways for Trump to become president again. So if you're not being honest about that, then you're missing the bigger point of what these conversations and these educational lessons are all about. This election is about percentages, and the small percentages in a number of states that will determine who will be the next president. So in understanding that, then you unpack the fact of who is actually helping to fund the respective set of candidates that are out there right now. And when you take a look at this individual, you will find that there are a number of Republicans, both big money donors and others, who are supporting his candidacy, not because they believe that he can win, but because they are playing the margins. They understand that if they can get a few thousand votes here and a few thousand votes there, then they can make sure that Biden doesn't have what he needs. Now, with all that being said, I never tell anybody who to vote for, but I do tell folks to take a look at a particular candidate and ask yourself, are they planning on doing anything? Have you heard anything of substance? And does their track record show that they care about Black people and Black communities? And if you actually take the time to do a little bit of research, it's pretty clear about the individuals who don't have any significant sets of actions in helping our communities and honoring our communities and trying to uplift our communities, and the others who do. Now, even though the others who do still have their flaws, you being an intelligent, thinking individual should make sure that you are voting for someone who is actually going to help us move the needle in our communities as we are also doing the work ourselves. And that's what the game is all about.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Ali. When it comes to these candidates, it's not about comparing one candidate to the almighty. It's about comparing them to the alternative. And if we're really talking about a black agenda and something that we really need to put together for our community, all of the information is there. All of who's building the bridges, who's building the roads, who's working on police reform, who's working on HBCUs and medicine and all of these different issues if we care to look. And so I think it's really important that going forward, we do a better job in our community of calling these people out, not looking at all of these individuals as gimmicks, because and whether we can go back to people like Jill Stein, or we still don't know what's going to happen with Dr. Cornel West, little things here and there can really sway this election in a way that's really going to set black people further back. And like you said, Dr. Ali, even if you don't tell people who to vote for, when you look and dig down into what's actually happening and look into the research, the answers should be obvious. The question is, are we willing to do the work and the research to find out, and stop playing checkers while these Republicans and whatever RFK is running as, they're out there playing chess because they got a larger mission as well.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media for the creator economy. This next generation social media app with over 600,000 users is raising $17 million, and now is your chance to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.